Well, good evening, everyone. Uh, one of those days that is very, very momentous. And if you're just coming on, please share this. I didn't announce I was doing this. I've just jumped on the news about Mohammed Zia Yusuf resigning from Reform is hopefully a sign that Reform has realised that for them to win an election and win big, they need that lot, and they need to get rid of people that are basically glorified Liberal Democrats or Labour activists. And also, I think the reality is that Zia Yusuf wasn't reading the room yesterday at all. He might, what he said might play well in Islington or in a very nice business setting with loads of woke business people, but the British base, the Brexit base, the people that voted for Brexit, I'm convinced 80% of them would agree with what the new Reform MP said yesterday about banning the burqa. And the fact that there was a reaction straight away, which Zia Yusuf denies it was for him. He said he was doing other stuff. We've got to take that at face value. But the way he hung himself was the way he responded to Katie Hopkins, when he basically said, "Oh no, that shouldn't be our party's policy," or whatever it was he said. And he's been hung on his own gallows, just like Haman in the Bible. So I think it's great news. I think it's really, really good news. And again, I'm going to have a little look at what's going on Twitter. I haven't prepared this. I've just come on because I think it really is really, really important. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this, and am I reading it right, or is Zia Yusuf really a good guy that I've got all wrong from the whole thing? Now that's an issue. Watch Zia Yusuf on Pete McCormack yesterday, and what a great interview. Do you know what? He does interview very well. There's no doubt about that. He's very articulate. He's seems to say all the right things, but I suppose what you've got to do is not necessarily judge a book by its cover, but judge a book by its contents. And I think he showed his true colours when he reacted to the call for a burqa ban. And I think if we think about it, I mean, depending on how you class a burqa, there's a niqab, there's a burqa, right? I'm not sure which one's which. I think the burqa is a full face covering, and niqab is what Boris Johnson described as a letterbox. Either or, it doesn't really make any difference. There was a case a few weeks ago, maybe it's a few months ago now, time flies by, where there was an Islamic, I think she was a terror suspect. She was either a terror suspect or involved in some sort of criminality. And when she was arrested, I believe that she refused to take the veil off when she was photographed, or something along those lines. Anyway, again, we know that people have covered themselves in Islamic garb to prove a point or to get away and execute crimes. And in fact, probably the best example of a person doing it to prove a point was our very own dear friend Tommy Robinson, when he walked into a meeting with a whole lot of, I think, Channel 4 producers where they were at an awards ceremony. He walked in with a burqa on, and I could be getting this story slightly wrong, by the way, but just going from recollection, he walked in with a burqa on and challenged the journalist that had basically turned him over. So, that's the sort of stuff that's that you can get away with if you cover from head to foot in face coverings. And again, it brings, where I would probably depart from from Farage's line on face coverings. Do I think face coverings should be banned at demonstrations? No, I don't. But whenever we do our demonstrations, we tell everybody on our side not to wear face coverings. And I think if people are definitely going there intent on causing trouble, then face coverings are an issue. So there's quite a few subtle points on that we've got to try and wrestle with and get around. But I mean, why do I think it's good news that Zia Yusuf's gone? When you talk, and I've spoken to people that, well, I've spoken to Ben Habib previously, I've spoken to other people in Reform, and they were, to say they weren't impressed with Zia Yusuf was an understatement. And the word was that he was going to be going sooner or later anyway. That's what people were telling me, because obviously, as you know, I'm very skeptical. I am a reformed skeptic. I think there's a lot of work needs to be done in that party, and a lot of people need to be brought into that tent, including probably the SDP, the whole of UKIP, Ben Habib, and Rupert Lowe, and possibly people like Liz Truss and Suella Braverman. I think all of those people probably need to be brought into the reform tent, along with a lot of other very, very smart people. And there are smart people in the party. I had one on the channel on I think it was Monday night, wasn't it? Monday or Tuesday. And Joseph Robertson is a fantastically smart, articulate, intelligent guy, and he is one of the brain boxes in reform, one of the young guns who's forming policy and talking about policy. So there are good people in reform, but this is one step in the right direction. What we want to see is a complete reform of reform. And I thought it was also interesting, and I'm going to get this tweet up actually if I can find it. Now I've got all the Zia Yusuf stuff up on Twitter here. I'm going to open another page for Twitter and see if I can find this for you. And it's Ant Middleton, because Ant Middleton today reached out to Tommy. Tommy made Tommy launched a documentary last night about the way the mainstream media is twisting and perverting everything. And Ant Middleton, I'll get this tweet up and I'll read it to you, and I'll put it on the screen. Ant Middleton basically said, Tommy's a great guy. Now, the issue with that, is, here we go. I think this is it here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, this is the tweet. So remember, Ant Middleton, ex-SBS Special Forces guy, SAS Who Dares Wins, celebrity, and a celebrity with a lot more gravitas than most celebrities. He's been there, done it, worn the t-shirt literally. So he's not somebody that you're gonna just dismiss as someone that's blowing in the wind. He will have thought about this. He will have consulted, no doubt, with the reform leadership. And I'm going to put this on the screen, so just bear with me while I set this up. See if we can get this done. Let's have a look. The best way of doing this is probably like this. So let me share screen, and we'll go with this one. Okay, that's not where it's working. What I'm going to do, I'll put that full screen. I'll just read it to you. Okay, you better see it on the screen there. Anyway. Okay, so this is what Ant Middleton said this morning. This was before any of the Zia Yusuf stuff exploded. Okay, so Ant Middleton said, definitely worth a watch. Link below. It links through to Tommy's new film. And again, if you haven't seen it, go onto the Ant Middleton tweet and find this film and watch it. You can also find it on Tommy's YouTube channel. It's his latest documentary. I think it's only about 15, 20 minutes long maximum. It's absolute dynamite. It's packed in there. It's great. But this is what Ant Middleton said. Definitely worth a watch. Link below. And I have to say that Tommy Robinson is a phenomenal, credible journalist whose work is extremely accurate, as I've experienced and still experience this firsthand. The truth always comes out, no matter how hard the MSM and government try to manipulate it or cover it up. Tommy, you have certainly found your niche in being a fearless journalist dedicated to revealing dark truths. It suits you. Stick with him, man. Great work on your last couple of pieces and projects. Intrigued to see more. Salute from Ant Middleton to Tommy, Union Jack, and the domain going back to Tommy's video. Now, just let me just come out of that. That to me is extremely significant. Excuse me. That's extremely significant, because if you've got people like Ant Middleton coming out openly and supporting Tommy, that would not. When I first started supporting Tommy in 2007, well, I'd supported him for years, but when I first met up with Tommy and started doing stuff with him, 2017, we had the Veterans Against Terrorism thing on the go. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. They were terrified of him. Now, these are veterans. These are veterans that have served in Afghanistan, Iraq, Northern Ireland, some of them in the Falklands, Kosovo, you name it. We had veterans that were from sort of 75, some of them have passed away, unfortunately, 75 right the way down to lads in the late 40s, okay? And when I mentioned that I was chatting to Tommy, and it was really important that we teamed up with Tommy, oh man, they were left grasping for the smelling salts. Big hairy ass veterans, oh, Tommy, he's this, he's that. And I was like, no, he's not. I wouldn't have anything to do with him if he was any of those things. And believe you me, it caused a massive disturbance in the force with the veterans. And it wasn't just the veterans. Some of the football lads were a bit, wary as well. They just didn't get him, okay? They didn't get what he was doing. They didn't understand what he was talking about. And they thought it was, they kind of thought Islam was Methodism with AK-47s, okay? They didn't understand that there's things deep down in Islam that are extremely problematic, okay? That was basically the problem that people had. And in fact, I mean, it's I'm going to say it because it's true and it happened. Phil Campion was very, very sniffy about Tommy, and Phil, Phil's a good lad. He's ex-SES guy. He's a character. He's funny, but back then that's how career destroying it was, as I found out, to hang about with Tommy. He was the kid in the school that your mum always told you not to hang about with. Do you know what I mean? And but that's the way people thought about him. And of course, so this is a massive breakthrough that Middleton has come out and said that, and this must have been signed off. The two things: the Burqa comment in the House of Commons and the Ant Middleton basically giving Tommy a massive thumbs up. Listen, both of those people, I forget the lady's name is the new MP. It's not that important, but anyway, the new Reform MP and Ant Middleton both making comments that would really, cause the left, the liberal elite, to be absolutely panic stricken. And remember, as it stands, what's his name? The Reform Party are surging in the polls, and I think they've taken a gamble and said, you know what? We can do this with our base. We can do this, and I think if they actually bring that lot, in other words, all of us, all of you guys in the comments, because I'd say most people in the comments are Tommy supporters and would like to see one party going for this. If they brought Ben back into the party, if they brought Rupert into the party, if they invited UKIP to join the party, if they invited the SDP to join, and gave them whatever, and brought the right together, brought some good, Liz Truss, Suella Braverman. Not sure about Jenrick, and I'll tell you about that on another live stream. But if they brought everybody together, for sure there would be a critical mass. And again, much as I hate to do it, I'm going to, you know what? There was a guy that was on this the other day, and he said, if you mention the pledge in this video, I'm out of here, right? So if that guy's watching, I can't remember who it was, but if that guy's watching, I'm going to mention the pledge now. So just give you a warning. If you want to leave, you can leave. I don't think there's anything wrong with mentioning the pledge. It's not heresy of any sort, but let me mention the pledge. So to me, the pipe dream is this. The pledge, the reason I keep going on about the pledge is because the pledge is the ideology of our movement, without a shadow of a doubt, okay? This is what we all stand for. This is what we all stand on. So if we had a party like Reform with everybody in it, it means, if it's done right, and if Nigel Farage is able to show a little bit of humility and bring everybody together, it could work. But that's up to Nigel, and I think we're a long way off that yet. So are they just positioning, getting rid of Zia Yusuf to make everybody think that they're stepping into the ground that they should be on. That's where the pledge comes in, because if we stick it on them and say, right, we've got however many people signed up to the pledge at the minute, it's 50,000 plus, maybe 55,000 probably now, I haven't checked for a while, but 50,000 plus people signed up to the pledge. If we had 500,000, it's not by any means implausible, or 1 million. But even with 50,000, that can make a difference in marginal constituencies. If people are saying we want our candidates to stand on the solid ground that is the pledge. So that's really where the pledge fits into all this, and that's why I keep promoting it, I keep pushing it, because I think it's not flashy, it's not sexy, it's just the pledge, and it's the greatest minds getting in a room, chewing the fat, and spitting something out at the end of that meeting that I think is very, very difficult to beat, because it is very comprehensive. It's not a short document, very long document. So I think the pledge has got a part to play in this. But if this could be the start of bringing the right together, because Yusuf was a divisive figure, and it wasn't because he was a Muslim. Ben's from a Muslim background. I'll be sharing a live stream in just over an hour with Paul Thorpe and Shohab, who's from a Muslim background. So that's not what it was about. It was about the way he was operating, the way he was trying to push the party not onto the centre ground, but onto the left and onto the progressive left. So again, I'm not totally convinced that reform will reform enough to do what's needs to be done to bring everybody together. But this is certainly a step in the right direction. I'm going to go to some of the comments. And again, give me your thoughts on this, guys, because again, you all know what I think about reform and the trust issues I have there. There's one about Liz Truss. Definitely no to Liz Truss. Okay, let me know why, Kim. I mean, what is it about Liz Truss that you don't like? Is it because she's a Tory, or what is it? Let me know in the comments. Just give me some information on this. Low Habib Atel are not joining while Farage is there. Okay, well, who knows? Who knows? I mean, do you know what? Let's get it right. An apology goes a very, very long way. If you apologize, that can make a big difference. So if Nigel would humble himself, and there's nothing wrong. If you listen, if I mess up, I apologize. Right? That's one of two of my redeeming character traits. One is I apologize a lot because I'm wrong quite a lot, but also I'm very forgiving. So a bit of forgiveness, a bit of Christian grace, a bit of forgiveness, and a bit of eating humble pie and apologizing wouldn't go far wrong at the minute, because the best thing that Farage could do is bring Ben in as the chairman. It's as simple as that. I think Ben was the chairman, wasn't he? Bring Ben back as the chairman, because Ben is a proper patriot. He gets it. He gets the threats to the country, and again, because of his heritage, he can actually get away with saying a lot more than old Whitey can. We're always a little bit hamstrung. Let's have a look at some of these comments. I'm a MAGA Republican, like Elena. That's really appreciated. If you're in the States, I mean, do me a favor. Anybody in the States, just share this channel, because what I'm going to try and do with this channel is have it so that obviously we are UK based. We're focusing on UK politics, but with the faith stuff and the political ideology, there's so much in common with what's going on in the United States. And again, I've been very influenced for years by, Christianity coming out of the United States, a lot of the reform stuff, Joel Beakey, Paul Washer, people like that. A lot of really, really good, solid stuff comes out of America. So I'd like to build connections in America. So please share the channel with our American friends. And I'm not the most connected man on the planet, but I probably know most people that you should know in this movement. And what I want to try and do is, as the channel grows, is get a lot of them involved in coming on and giving me their ideas and having chats like we've been having with people for the past few weeks. And as the channel grows and as we get more subs, they'll do that. But I'd love to have some input from the United States as well. So that'd be great if anyone's in the States. Just share the channel, like it and share it. And obviously subscribe to it as well. I'm a full-on Tommy supporter. Yeah, me too. I mean, I think the thing about Tommy is what I've seen since he came out of prison. Before he went in, there was a massive change in Tommy. He was a lot less. Well, Tommy's never been confrontational. He's not like that, but he was a lot less sort of volatile, if that makes any sense. He was really, really calming. Obviously, I've known him personally since 2017, and I've watched his career since the very beginning. And he's always been extremely talented, extremely articulate, extremely intelligent, extremely bold, and extremely fast thinking. But now there seems to be a calmness in Tommy. I don't know if you agree with me on this, let me know. There seems to be a calmness there that I've never seen before. Again, who knows? Is it the influence of spirituality on him? Not sure. But there's been a real, I think, a positive change since he came out of prison. Because let's get it right. I mean, he has just been through a horrendous ordeal, and he's come out like he's been on holiday. He's come out and he's punching all over the place, and he's really making mincemeat of anybody that's unfortunate to get in his way. That ITV journalist, that ITV journalist is, I felt a bit sorry for him, to be honest with you, because I think he's probably wanted to say a lot more than he did, but he couldn't, No, I agree. We know the establishments are corrupt. We know we've got all sorts of issues with the establishment, but I think the truth of the matter is that we've basically got to do this. We've got to find a way through it, and I still think it's bringing everybody together, bringing reform together, bringing the whole lot together. Yeah, Ben's mum was a Catholic. Ben's mother was a Catholic, and his dad was a non-practicing Muslim. He was born in Pakistan. I think his mum's English, if I remember rightly, and his dad. I'm not sure if his mum and dad are still alive. I think his dad's still alive. I'm not sure if his mum is, but yeah. But Ben's a great guy. Ben is a really, really good guy. Clive, I see. These are the sort of comments I want. The reality is that's my fear, that Nigel's ego will get in the way, and it won't allow this to happen. What needs to happen? Yeah. You must have watched the speech I made in the Polish Centre in London a few months ago when I was sitting there. There was Ben Habib there and a few people from Northern Ireland, Kate Hoey and a couple of others. And Ben says to me, he says, "So Richard, tell us about the pledge." I said, "Well, the pledge, it's a furniture polish. You can get it in most DIY stores." And of course, yeah. Anyway, it was me just trying to be funny, and some people did laugh then, but I can't tell whether anybody's laughing on the end of the screen. But yeah, pledge is a very good furniture polish, but it's also a document that's going to save the nation if we let it loose. Okay, so let's have a look at some more of these. Nigel's ego. Richard, you cannot pick and choose who will and won't want or even be considered for joining reform. You're whistling in the wind. I'm not sure I get what you're saying there, Links, but let's have a look. Richard. Oh, really appreciate that. I was gonna make some jokes there, Bobby, but I won't. Okay, I'm gonna be good. I'm not gonna mention pasty suppers because I'd lose half my audience. In fact, half the audience wouldn't know what a pasty supper is. Nigel can't humble. He's too arrogant. If anything, Trump is pretending to be on the outs to throw off the MSM. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I must admit the fallout between Elon Musk and Trump, if it is a fallout, that does worry me much more than Zia Yusuf. Right. Okay. Okay. Let's have a look at this. At least I can stop worrying that keys to number 10 isn't going to Zia Yusuf. You know what? I mean, all joking aside, that is a very, very good point. That is a very, very good point. There's a lot of people on here, and listen, I absolutely get it, right? That quite understandably, are still looking at Zia Yusuf and saying, nah, he's sorry, not Zia Yusuf, looking at Nigel Farage and saying, no, he's not. And again, I have seen Farage. I have watched the way he's operated down through the years. And, it's that whole thing of what's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And that's pretty much what people have done with Farage and with the Conservative Party. With the Conservative Party lied and schemed and plotted against each other and opened the floodgates of migration. They stayed on a Blairite policy base. They weren't centre right. They weren't even centre left. They were just downright progressives. I mean, a lot of the policies that the Labour Party is using against the British population were brought in by the Conservative Party. If you think about it, when you think about the internet harms legislation, which in its embryonic form was about protecting kids, and it got widened and widened and widened. And Hope Not Hate were advising the government. Think about this. Hope Not Hate were advising the Tory government. Unbelievable. That's, they were advising the Home Affairs Select Committee, Yvette Cooper's little gang. We all got censored and banned from Facebook. And thank goodness we kept a toehold in YouTube. And Tommy, by the way, if you haven't done it already, subscribe to Counter Media, okay, on YouTube. I really want to build that channel up. I've got big plans for that channel. I really want to make it something really special and something a bit unique as well, because because of the angle I want to go at it with, it's going to be different really to what anybody else is doing. Some people may copy it, but it's good to be a trailblazer. But we're going to be going out from a Christian point of view. We are going to be doing politics. We are going to be doing culture. But the ethos of it will be politically right wing, conservative, Christian, and obviously very, very much orientated on how to win the culture back and how to change the culture. And again, I've always said it: politics is downstream of culture, and culture is downstream of religion. Right? Okay. Okay. Nigel said no to Ben. Well, I don't know if Ben's asked again. You see, I mean, I think, Nigel was very rude about Ben, and I think Nigel would have to apologise. Great news, Richard Tommy getting a joke. Yes, that is good, but that is good, but let's have a look here. Do you think it might be possible that the jury? Yes, I do. Southwark, I think that's how you pronounce it. Southwark, it's written Southwark, I think that's how you pronounce it. Southwark is a Labour-controlled area. So that worries me, because if Tommy's on trial in a Labour-controlled area, is he going to get a fair trial? I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure. And that's the other big news today. The other big news is that Tommy went into court after literally putting probably half a dozen left-wing journalists to the sword. And again, let's say that the ITV guy, he was a cameraman. I actually felt a bit sorry for him. You know what I mean? Because he didn't know what to say, because you could tell he was kind of agreeing with Tommy, but obviously thinking, this is my livelihood, Well, I tell you what, that cameraman, if he loses his job, I'm sure he could get employed by Tommy or Maya Tusi or somebody or Sargon or any of these other guys that's got decent sized media outputs. But that's the point Tommy made. He says, nobody controls me. I can say what I want, and I will say what I want. And I think I thought it was a fantastic. I live streamed the whole thing this morning on my X and on these YouTube channels. I don't know how well it came out, because I think there's a lot of glitching because it was streaming a stream, which is never ideal. But Showhub, you were there, so let us know later on when we're on the stream with Paul. Let us know exactly what happened, how it went. It looked very positive. It looked like a really, really good, good day. Okay. I'm South African, and I hate Labour. Well, that's good. That's good. See, let's hope you get picked for the jury. But I don't think we can do that. I think that's called tampering with. I think that's perverting the cause of justice if we try and put your name forward, Steve. But we can pray about it. We can pray. And again, I think talking about the Christian thing, I really believe that prayer works, and we called for a day of prayer and fasting yesterday, and I don't think that court appearance could have gone any better. And let's get it right, that judge could have tried to remand Tommy, could have put horrendous bail conditions on him, but he didn't. He was very, very fair. And I hope when he's looked at that, he's going, this is ridiculous. It's going nowhere anyway. But, we need to keep praying. And again, we're on the stream earlier. If you weren't on earlier, I know some of you probably were. By the way, 700 people, that's not bad, because this was a real fastball live stream. And I wasn't planning on coming on because I'm doing one at 9 o'clock with Paul Thorpe. So if you want loads and loads of live streams today, we'll probably finish this one in the next 20 minutes or so, and then half an hour later it's Paul and Shohab, and we'll do it all again, and we'll see if there's any different ideas coming from those guys. But look, I think getting somebody like Zia Yusuf out of politics in the UK is a good thing. I always looked at him, I thought there was something very, very insincere about him. I didn't personally feel that he had the passion. He was very slick, and like one of the subscribers, or one of the people in the chat said earlier on, that he gave a great interview with Peter McCormack. He interviews very well, but that's because he's had one of these world-class educations, and that does not make you a patriotic Englishman, having a world-class education, as we found out with Boris, who talked the talk. Everybody thought he was a bumbling patriotic buffoon, kind of like a clumsy version of Winston Churchill. But he wasn't. Boris is a globalist. And I think, in fact, all of the prime ministers, probably apart from Liz Truss, since Tony Blair, and this is a frightening thought, every single prime minister apart from Liz Truss since Tony Blair is fully signed up to the globalist deep state establishment agenda. And this is what worries me about Farage. And this is why I'm celebrating Zia Yusuf going, but it's the first step to me in them democratizing the party and getting that party on a footing. The party will probably win the next election, but that's the first part of the battle. And this is what, of course, Farage was talking about with Yusuf. He had Zia Yusuf working on this auditing committee, if you like, for the whole of the country. But how can you have someone that doesn't fully believe in the project running something that's meant to go and audit all the wastage, all the wokeness, and get rid of all the bad stuff that there is out there? So that's always been my problem. And again, like I've said, there's not enough substance. Yes, there are some very smart people. There are some very bright people. We had one of them here on Tuesday night. Matt Goodwin looks like he's going to join the party. There's lots of very clever people around there. But again, are they going to go far enough to rectify and do what needs to be done in this country? Are they going to say, right, we are deporting every single illegal? I mean, whatever people think about UKIP, right? UKIP have said very clearly that they will deport everybody that came here illegally absolutely straight away, and they will look at other people that are in the country. If you're not a patriot, I mean, Nick wants to send the communists somewhere. I don't know where he's going to send them, but he wants to send the communists. I don't think there's a communist. Well, probably North Korea or China. I think they're the only two. Maybe it's Vietnam. They're the only 2 or 3 countries that still hold to communism. But Nick wants to deport the communists as well as the Islamists, and he's right. He's absolutely right, because the reality is the far left is very, very dangerous. The far left is in control of our country at the minute. You look at the Attorney General, who's basically, been in bed with Searchlight magazine. Obviously, Nick Lowell's, the Penfold from Hate Without Hope, was one of the, I think he was the editor of Searchlight. And again, there's a lot of very, very dark stuff from the late 80s and the early 90s. Anti-fascist action, Red Action, very, very sinister groups, and Red Action that were basically inextricably linked, just like Sinn Féin and the IRA. They were inextricably linked with anti-fascist action. A group called Red Action was planting bombs for the IRA in the early 90s. They carried out bombing of Harrods. It's believed by a lot of people in the intelligence community believe that Red Action planted the Warrington bomb. There's no evidence, so there's no hard evidence. There's nobody's been convicted of it, but a lot of people in intelligence circles believe that Red Action planted the Warrington bomb on behalf of the IRA because they were basically acting as a proxy for the IRA. They were doing the IRA's dirty works. And 2 men were convicted of the Harrow bombing and received, I think, 30-year prison sentences in the early 90s, and they were both members of Red Action. One of them was an ex-army veteran. Right now, here's the interesting thing. Prominent members, and I'm not going to name them because I'm aware of how litigious they are, but prominent members of anti-fascist action, and it's on record. In fact, there's a book somewhere that had to hold my nose when I bought it. That book, Beating the Fascists, which is a very good resource on that period within Antifa. You've got to know your enemy. So people from within Hate Without Hope, very prominent people, and that's all I'm going to say, were involved in anti-fascist action in the same area that Red Action were operating as well. And remember, Red Action and anti-fascist action were inextricably linked. That's all I'm going to say on that. There's a lot more there that I could say, but I'm being very, very careful what to say, because again, you know, when these groups fall, they will fall with an almighty bang, because they have got away with a lot for a very, very long time. But the evidence is there in black and white that people were linked. Were they working for the security services as agents and working for these groups as well? That's highly probable. That's highly probable. And that would explain why none of these people ever get arrested or ever prosecuted. And some of the links that they have, well, I'm not going to say anymore. We'll part that off because I'm going off on a real tangent on that. But it's there. You know, it's there. Hate Without Hope are a very, very dangerous organization. And the sooner we get a political party into power that will look at them and investigate group NGOs like them and what they've actually been doing and the way they've been operating, that would be a very, very interesting exercise to carry out. But anyway, okay. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I've been watching. Yeah, that's honestly, I mean, Red Action. I mean, this I can say this because it's been proved in court cases. Members of Red Action were planting bombs for the IRA in the early 90s, and they absolutely viled it. I mean, every bit as bad as anything on the far right. You know, and we're not that. You know, but these people were terrorists. Let's just get it right. And Red Action were inextricably linked. They were very closely linked, interchangeably linked, if what we're led to believe by people that were involved in that scene, with AFA. Okay, in certain areas. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not making any more accusations than that, because again, I'm very aware how litigious certain people can be. But we're watching, and if anybody was involved, in Red Action or anti-fascist action, that's realised that it was a complete sham and a scam, and it was going down a very dark path, and you want to get in touch with us, get in touch with either me or anybody that's involved in the movement, you know, Tommy or whoever. Get in touch if you know anything about Red Action and anti-fascist action from the late 80s, early 90s. Particularly in the Leeds, Sheffield area. That'd be very, very interesting. Be very interested to talk to anyone that's genuinely got information on that. But like I say, I'm going off on a tangent. This is a day of celebration, because I think it's been a massive breakthrough, and I do go back to it. I go back to the idea of praying and really praying about these things. I want to mention a couple of things as well. So there's a court, the initial hearing for Tommy in Southwark Crown Court is, I think, on the 3rd of July. And I'm not sure whether they want people there, but I would imagine he will, because I would think that Southwark is going to be quite sort of hostile territory by what I can gather. But again, if that guy that was in Southwark, that was in the comments earlier on, let me know. I don't know much about Southwark or where it is, because I'm not a Londoner. But so that's one. But before that, 28th of June, from what I can hear, the 28th of June is going to be the biggest thing that the football lads have done since October 2017. And the October 2017 rally, I'd say, is probably comparable with what happened in Trafalgar Square in August last year, except the difference was it was all lads, and I mean proper football lads. And it was, to say intimidating is probably not the right word. Ominous would have been the right word, because remember, that was just after the Ariana Grande bombing. It was after Borough Market. It was after London Bridge. It was after PC Keith Palmer was murdered in the grounds of Parliament, who was also a veteran. So it was a very charged atmosphere, and 70,000 to 100,000 football lads and veterans came together, and it was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Really fantastic day. And I know it had a lot of impact on a lot of people. Yeah, Lee, it was great, wasn't it? I mean, I was on top of the bus. We had a double-decker bus, and there was me, Phil Campion, Mike Howell, John Meehan, Phil Hickin. Who else was on the top of that bus? But it was great. It was really, it was just amazing. We all got to make speeches. That was, I think in terms of public speaking, it was only the second speech I'd made in London. I've been speaking in Northern Ireland for years. The second one, yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. Really, really good day. So yeah. Anyway, 28th of June. Phil's still massively involved in organising all this. Phil's done a great job of bringing people together. So get behind that and get to that. That's in London. I think it's in Russell Square at midday, but check on their publicity. It's football lads against grooming gangs. They are marching for the kids. They're saying enough's enough. We want the public inquiry. We want people arrested. We want people deported that have been doing this. We're not going to put up with this anymore. Now, people don't talk about this much anymore, but a few years ago, I think it was either Anne Cryer or Sarah Champion. They said they believed 1 million young women had been young women had been abused by the grooming gangs. 1 million. And when we made those films, when we made the films about grooming in Telford a few years ago, I was absolutely, I mean, you would go, because we did all the preliminary interviews, and when I spoke to those girls, it was I came away absolutely emotionally shattered and drained, because man, I've never heard stories like it, and people have just no idea what those girls went through, and the pain and the suffering they went through, and the evidence that we had and what we uncovered. And this is the thing. This is the important thing that people got to understand. Again, I'm very careful not to mention names, right? But we had names and information on very, very prominent people in the Pakistani Muslim community. That's just the way it was. I'm not saying they're the only community doing this, but they were the ones that have been. This is the community that's been doing the vast majority of it. I think it's somewhere between, depending on what polls you read, between 80 and 90% of the men involved in this very, very specific form of child abuse are from the Pakistani Muslim community. So we didn't make that up. And when we looked, the percentages of people in Telford that were involved in that were off the chart. It was just incredible. And I'm not going to quote them because I can't remember them off the top of my head, but it was substantial. And then we looked at the network, and we realized we were looking at a mafia. We were looking at something like you see in maybe Ozarks or one of these programs that are made about these cartels, and they were involved in money laundering. They were involved in people trafficking. They were involved in trafficking of children. They were involved in a heroin business, the heroin trade. They were involved in dealing and selling cocaine and other drugs. The thing was, there wasn't massive violence within that community. They were very clever. What they've done is they've been violent against the most vulnerable, i.e. white working class girls from broken homes. Very violent and very, very unpleasant towards that community. But they've avoided being violent on a large scale with anybody else. So you're not getting, gang warfare because they're all networked. There's a lot of relationships built there. And there's a lot of connections in the legal profession because we uncovered them. Very, very prominent legal people, and I'm going to say in Birmingham, were involved with these gangs. Now, were they actually involved in the abuse? Well, we've no evidence of that. If we'd had evidence, Tommy would have put a camera under the noses. But again, it's very interesting that none of the people that Tommy put the cameras in their faces ever tried to sue him for libel. They threatened to kill him, but they didn't try and sue him. So we uncovered a very, very unpleasant mafia-style operation that literally spans the whole of the country. And what they have done is evil beyond belief. Now, when this was finished, I think it was Tommy went to the National Crime Agency, says, we have all this information. Do you want it? The National Crime Agency said no. As well as that, what we uncovered in the councils, in the Labour-run councils, and in the police was shocking. What these girls told us about the way the police behaved towards them. So that's why the Labour Party don't want an independent national inquiry, because what it will do, it'll show absolutely how deep this goes, and that there is a child trafficking, drug dealing, money laundering, people smuggling, people trafficking, mafia operating at the heart of the United Kingdom. And it's operating with the full blessing, it would seem, of police forces, civil servants, and senior politicians, not just Labour politicians, but certainly a lot of Labour politicians. If we could find the information we could find, literally a team of about 10 people researching day and night, doing undercover work, watching these people, following these people, we just didn't have the resources because there were so many people that we had to follow. So if we can do it, can MI5 not do it? Can the police not do it? Can the state not do it? Can the Labour councillors not insist this is done? And you see, this is the problem. This is why the Labour Party are terrified of this, because they know when the light is shone in these dark areas, it will blow everything apart. And that's why they're against a national public inquiry, because a national public inquiry, again, I don't have much trust in the judicial system, but you would imagine it would get a lot more truth than just local inquiries run in local council areas. And the work we did because we had a whistleblower that was working on the Telford inquiry, who had been part of the scandal, that had been abused herself, and was invited to take part in that. Anyway, I'm not going to say any more about that project. But yeah, so that's where we're at. So there's a lot to play for here, and the reason I'm glad that Zia Yusuf's gone is because it's the first step in the right direction. But again, I'm going to go back to the comments here, guys, and just see what everyone's saying. But there's a lot more needs to be done. Obviously, there's a lot more need to be done. Let me just go back to this. Okay. The fact that they won't have a national inquiry. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, if you can do me a big favor, share Counter Media. Go onto the channel, sign up on the channel if you're not signed up already. I know I'm like a broken record on this, but it's really important because I want to build this channel up. I want this channel to be something special. I want it to be completely different to anything else that's out there. But there's no point if nobody wants to get involved and follow it. There's no point in doing it, because it's obviously going to take me a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of resources to build it up to the stage that I want to do. At the minute, I'm building a website. I'm going to be putting the page up with the song. Nobody's asked me to play the song when I get out of there. So, oh dear. Refreshing to see BBC reports courts proceeding as top. Yeah. Do you know what? That is a very good point, and I didn't even notice that. I didn't even pick up on that. So, Richard the Imam. Oh man. I like that name. That's a good name. I repost on X, followers, no follows on YouTube. Otherwise, we'll share. Yeah, Kelly, X is fine. I mean, just tell them to go to my YouTube channel, because I think YouTube, if we can build up to about 100,000 on YouTube, and then build a nice emailing list, for this. Obviously, we've got the pledge emailing list as well, and we can look at all that in a few months' time. But if we can build up a nice email list, it just means if we do get cancelled, I've got a couple of thousand people on the UK Freedom Movement website email list. So I'm going to be emailing that in the next couple of weeks or so, just to basically ask people to shift across to counter media. And I'll keep that email list going as well. And then if I could get 100,000 people signing up on counter media and the same on emails, it means you've got a sustainable way of keeping in touch with everybody. Because I've been cancelled before, and because I know that these channels shadow ban the life out of us, and if I say one thing wrong, if I go, and that's why I'm very careful what I say on these channels. I'd like to say a lot more, but I've got to be very careful when I'm talking about things like the grooming gangs and so on and so forth, because again, this is something that needs to be addressed. These platforms will still cancel you. We had a big problem over in Northern Ireland with one of our pages in Northern Ireland, which has never done anything, hasn't put a foot wrong. The page got deleted a couple of days ago. We got it back, but one of the lads that was on the page, he had to leave the page, and he'd done nothing wrong. So that we're still dealing with all that. Play the song, Richard. I am going to play the song, and what I'm going to do, I'll play the song. Do you know what? Well, I'll waffle on for about. I'll go through all your comments for another 5 minutes, right? And then I'll play the song. I'll play us out the song. How's that? And I am going to put a page up on the Counter Media website, and it's going to have a little interface with to get to the music. You're going to have to give me your email address and maybe your postcode or whatever, and then I'll give the music away free, and there'll be a little payment gateway there. If you want to support the channel, you can support the channel, but I don't want to be charging for the music, because I want you guys to get it as a gift from me. So I'll put MP3s on there. That means you can download it and play it as often as you want. Right, let's have a look at some of this. Well, do you know what, April? That's what I'm hoping. And I'm hoping that for Hate Without Hope. If I was Hate Without Hope, whenever I see Penfold from Hate Without Hope, I always think he looks very, very nervous and scared. He doesn't look like he could have a good tear up with someone. Not that anybody's ever going to threaten him, but he just always looks a wee bit nervous. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't think he'd do very well in prison. Well, maybe he'd do quite well in prison if people are doing that sort of thing. But let's have a look. What's this? Watch the pre-fight talk between Paul the Thunder Thorpe and Danny the Injured Salmon earlier today. My money's on Salmon. Believe you me, my money's on Danny Salmon. But then again, there might be a few low blows. Knowing Paul Thorpe, there might be a few low blows going in there. Oh man, I love the song. It's on my playlist list. That's what it's there for, Susan. That's what it's there for. It's there to get people going, And yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good steam. Okay, was there in London in 2000? Yeah, that was. Now, which one was that? Oh no, that was a different one. That was the one where he was in prison, wasn't it? Obviously, I did the one in May 2018, the Day of Freedom, which was the beginning of May. I think that was about 5th or 6th of May. Then he got arrested just before my birthday, and we didn't see him for 6 months. Oh, man, they took my YouTube down. Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. And I bet you did nothing wrong. I bet you did. I bet you were just expressing stuff in a way that the censors and the intolerant scumbags didn't like it. Simple as that, isn't it? Counter media. Do you know what? Yeah, I'll find it. Let's just get the link. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll drop it in the comments. I'll put it on the screen. Just bear with me. In fact, how do I hide that comment? If I hide that, there it is. There, it's on the screen. So that's it. That's it there, Steve. So if you go on there, mate, go to YouTube youtube.com/ @countermedia UK. That's the link. So let's have a look, guys. And if you like to say, get onto that channel. Some of you will be, I know some of you will be watching on the Counter Media channel, but dive onto. I don't want you leaving the Richard Inmoreland, because I'm going to run both, and I'm going to live stream to both. So then you've got a choice which you want to play, and it just means if the censors come in hard again, and they go for us again, I want to make sure that I've got as many options there as I can to keep in the game, and hence why I will be setting up an email database for Counter Media through the website. Oh, are you looking for the link to? Sorry, Steve, are you looking for the link to Counter Media? The song's not up there yet. The site's done, but there's no real content on it. It's just kind of a dummy site at the minute. I've got it all done, but it's just a question. I've got a few bits and pieces to do with the emails, which I'm hopefully going to get. Scaramanga getting deported. The man with the golden gun. You've got to be of a certain age to even get that joke. Oh man, great news that Zia has gone. I always felt he might be a wolf in sheep. Yeah, I'm convinced he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, so it is good. The wolf is out of the hen house now, you know. See, I've missed this. I'm going to have to catch up when I get off here. I'm going to have to catch up on this before I go live on the Paul Thorpe channel at 8 o'clock. Do you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to go here and I'm going to share. I'm going to get this song up. Let's find this song, and I'm going to play everybody this song. And I think once I get a bit of time, it's all about getting time. I have so little time to do all the stuff that I want to do. Okay, so there's the song, right? Now what I need to do is stop sharing that one. I need to start sharing that one. So let's start playing it. Come on. Right, okay, so let's get this shared. Boom, 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 boom. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop out of the page here, guys, and I'm going to go full screen with the Men of England and enjoy it, because it is absolutely superb. I'm going to get it so it takes up the whole screen. Just bear with me 2 seconds. And let me know you can hear it as well. Okay. Let's pull it right back to the beginning. So that's there. We good? Is it working? It's looking good. It's looking good.
Men of England, the heroes brave and bold, where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where were the men of England when abusers so depraved took the daughters of our nation, who forever they enslaved? What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? The vile police and vice squad, they all seemed quite amused, as at the hands of groomers our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all. Most of all, they blamed the one who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England, for now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Where are you, men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Where are you, men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. This morning. I said, where are the men of England? You're here! You're here! You're here!
Nature is under attack. Waterways are polluted, sewage, all habitats destroyed, all in the name of profit. Our regulations are already...
Well, guys, again, thanks everybody that watched there. I'm going to do it all again. I'm going to go and get a cup of tea and a glass of water because my throat's getting a bit sore. And just thanks everybody for coming on and just for the interaction. And you know, I think we're all building something really, really special on these channels, on the Richard Inman channel, on the Counter Media channel. And you know, if you guys weren't coming and watching, I wouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. And it encourages me, and I want to encourage you guys. And let's just keep doing it. And I'll see you all again in half an hour on Paul Thorpe's channel. So adios, folks. See you all soon.